What's up guys, welcome to another Dreams video with leftstickrightstick. We're looking at another community creative jam and this theme is Chinese New Year. We actually had some really amazing levels here. You know, what you'd expect from Chinese New Year is a lot of red, some dragons and maybe some sort of temple-y stuff. And it's Year of the Pig, so you know, probably lots of pig themed stuff. So there's lots of really cool stuff, both scenery, gameplay, and as well as sculptures. So first off, we're going to start off with a Year of the Pig creation by Ni Chu. This was a very simple, basic sculpt. Obviously, focusing on the Year of the Pig. It's got a little piggy right in the center, and it actually looks very nice. I think this was actually very much a very cute pig. I really like the lanterns. These sort of lanterns seem to be dotted throughout many people's creations, actually, these lanterns. But this was really good. The lighting was very nice. And, you know, it's very looking much like what you'd expect on a sort of kind of greeting card as well. This is sort of like a Year of the Pig. Yeah, very cute. But you know, what things that I didn't quite like about this creation, I guess, is that the camera was fixed. So there was nothing that we couldn't look around it as much. It was just loading up. You can see that pig, and that's all it is. And you know, it would be nice that there was some more movement, maybe in the grass, maybe the lanterns. That would have been nice. You know, rustling grass, you know, bobbling lanterns, or even just some animation of the pig. That would have been a nice little addition. But that said, the music of this that goes along with this sculpt was actually very nice, and obviously the lighting is very good. And you know, you may look at the pig and it looks quite simple and basic, but I would still say it's one of the better pig sculpts that I came across during this whole CCJ. So I really like this in top 10 and very well deserving of its place. Next up, we have Connie the Trash Collector Episode 1, Mr. Piggy Rings in the New Year. This was by a cartoon, Conscious and Darechinti. I don't really know how to, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this was a very weird level. It was a story-driven level, focusing on Connie working with a Mr. Piggy who has a very good snout to smell out trash. And we're just going around these islands collecting trash, supposedly. So, you know, very weird premise. And I feel like the only reason that this is linked to Chinese New Year is because the Year of the Pig, and they had a Mr. Piggy in there. But, so, you know, that it just doesn't seem very right. And obviously, to me, I don't think it should have placed so highly in votes. But, I mean, there's a lot of comical element to this, so this is probably why it got the votes that it did. Like I was saying, it's a very weird creation, it's very abstract. And there's multiple islands that we are going to clear trash. The whole progress of it is very simple. It's like a hide and seek. You just find a piece of trash on the island, pick it up, to basically initiate more sort of talk and chat with Mr. Piggy. And it takes a sudden change at the end where we just kind of sacrifice Mr. Piggy to the gods. And, you know, the whole conversation gets a bit dark as well. So, don't quite like that creation. Next up, we have New Year's Ball by Kozol222. This is once again a very beautiful sculpt and very much deserving of like being in the top 10. And it looks very much like what you'd expect in a sort of greeting card once again. But this time, we actually can move the camera around. We can actually see the different layers and the depth. And this is really cool. I actually really like the pig as well in this. The pig in this looked very anatomically correct, as it were. It looks like a realistic kind of pig. The flowers are actually very nice, and I like they have different varying sizes and everything. The whole golden-ish colors, the reds, they all fit in with the whole Chinese New Year theme. This was very beautiful. I'm quite surprised, you know, the actual contrast of the pig itself to the rest of the actual sculpt, but actually that's sort of what gives it its charm. And even the painterly aesthetic, the difference that there's some painterly aesthetic of the flowers and sort of this ribbon around the pig actually is just very nice contrast overall. A few minor complaints with this sort of sculpture is probably the 2019 could have been less blurry, I guess, or less brush-like, and also sort of the background could have probably been a bit more golden or reddish rather than just this dark background. I mean, I know it's sort of to give a contrast, but still, it would have been nicer that way. Next up, we have a remix of Chinese Alley by Hank II. So obviously, the title says it, it's a remix. and the original level was called Chinese Alley, and it was by Gentleman Tom. This is actually a very nice remix. In many ways, I feel like this shows you a good simple way to make some remixing changes to something that's already existing in the Dreamiverse. So what's new to this whole level, you might ask? Well, as you can see, all these buildings here and the sky are completely new to the original Chinese Valley, and instead of actually just being a static sort of scene, there's actually this whole motion video thing going through, and you could actually go into detail. You added the puppet in the beginning, and you've got extra fireworks as well. So here you're going to see actually what the original Chinese Valley scene looked like. So obviously the actual alley itself remained untouched, but the actual remixing put us in a more detailed camera view. We actually zoomed in on some areas of the alley, which is actually very nice. I really like that addition in the remix. And also the actual detail of the building background was also very nice as well. What I found really good was that actually brought us around the corners rather than just we can see the corner. There's one other bad thing though about this was that, fires were quite low, but for some reason this level sort of just ended and just stayed at this building, which in my mind seems like it takes away the focus from the actual alley itself, but maybe that's because that's what Hank II actually put more effort into. Next up, we start to get more interactive with these levels. This Bomb of the Pig by Fawn Over. Once again, sort of the main real tie to this is sort of the pig, being the pig in the Chinese New Year. Starts off very intriguingly, kind of gets you sort of immersed in this sort of a story. Who are you? What are you doing? Where are you doing? And there's this quite slow and very good actual transition into a sort of tutorial to let you know what you need to do. But the basics are simple. You got to throw a bomb around, you can double jump, and you can sort of run. And then suddenly enemies start coming in, and you just kind of run around and kind of try and survive. It's just throwing bombs around. In terms of the actual controls, the tutorial is very good, but in terms of actually what we're meant to be doing around here, it's a bit throw you in the deep end kind of thing. Personally, I found the camera a bit hard to control, and it seems like a very survival, high score type thing. And there's sort of different waves of these charging pigs at you, and the actual interactions with these enemies, there's different sort of interactions. There's bomb smack, I don't really know what that is, and there's different sort of flames of these bombs, and then you've got this current bets on your pig and stuff. So there's lots of things that are not a bit confusing and not quite clear, but it's still a fun level regardless. It's a fun survival level, and at the very end it actually brings a more Chinese New Year tie with some more educational information about the Chinese New Year and how that level relates. Next up, we have yet another pig, but this is a more down-to-earth piggy. This is like a piggy waiter or restaurant owner, and actually I really like that this piggy, Mr. Wiggles by Entropy-Tamed, actually has some really smooth and detailed sort of animation actions. He's got two distinct actions, which are actually nice and very smooth, and actually it doesn't really quite fit in many ways, because if he's meant to be a waiter, I don't know what he's doing, but he's got two celebratory actions, which are quite fun. And what's probably bad about Mr. Wiggles is that it seems like there's a lot more effort being put onto the upper half of Mr. Wiggles. All the motions and everything are a lot smoother and more well thought out there, and it just seems like maybe the bottom half was a bit of an afterthought, which is a bit of a shame, because it's pretty cool. Strangely enough, this actual level featured the creation that came in first place, which we'll talk about later. And but it's kind of a weird setting, because it's obviously in Mr. Wiggles in his supposedly natural element as a restaurant kind of waiter looking like guy, and there's a restaurant that he's in, but the restaurant seems a bit too empty, and obviously it's not really bustling in any way, and he's also just in some random corner of it, which there's also another even darker corner on the other side. So that's a bit strange, sort of like halfway thought there, but he was a great pick nonetheless. Cubixphere enters another top 10 in the community jam once again with Torch Top. This is another puzzle platformer by Cubixphere. This was actually really good. I really liked it. It's got an ingenious gameplay mechanic. You're this sort of robo-mech thing, and then you've got like this floating flame head, which you use to sort of activate different switches and puzzle-y elements, and also allows you to double jump. So your powers of your suit will depend on if you have the flame top on your bot, or if it's away. And you know, it obviously activates switches, so that's a very cool gameplay mechanic. It really uses a lot of the Chinese theme just because of all the building aesthetics, and I guess the flame kind of ties in, or maybe it's just the color scheme that really ties in, makes it feel like the character actually fits in with the whole Chinese New Year theme. The overall aesthetics is actually quite basic. You know, he's set in a very open area, and he's using all these obstacles to actually convey the actual theme of Chinese New Year. There's even coins to collect throughout this level, and there's lots of retracing steps, which is actually very cool and fun. Really makes use of the actual area, and this could probably reduce the use of thermo if it's quite high in thermo. A few negatives though were like the fireworks at the end could have been much grander, and also I had some issues with double jumping, but that could have just been down to me. And also like the score UI, it was taken from Porto, and I really feel like it could have been more unique and more fitting to the level. Now we start to get a bit more Chinesey with with our sculptures and characters. This is going, you know, less away from the pig and more to the dragons. So this is Chinese Dragon, work in progress by Diamond DNC 10. This is actually, you know, a character puppet thing. It was a really cool looking dragon, which, you know, clearly flies around. It was a bit of a shame that this showcase, the camera was a bit too far away, so we couldn't really see the details. And we just went into remix to bring you closer details of this dragon. It's a bit of a shame that, you know, playing through the character, you couldn't get up as close. It has some issues though with the way the dragon is actually animated, because when he's flying around and he suddenly stops, the sort of recoil of the tail to coil it back up looks very awkward. But obviously, as Diamond DNC has tagged, it's a work in progress. There's still things to improve upon. So, you know, just take these comments with, you know, a bit more grain of salt. The final product may actually be much improved. So the highlights of this dragon is got really detailed head, really like it. The scaling is very nice, and the flame ridge of his mane is actually really cool. The arms at the front is also very cool sculpt. The sculpting by Diamond DNC is done very well here. Interestingly, this was actually joint third place as well. Although some of the negatives I have about this dragon is that, you know, it's got a really stubby looking tail. The sections of the movements, you can clearly see it, which is a bit distracting. The orb in its claws were a bit weird, and personally I feel like all Chinese dragons tend to have more back feet, which were missing as well from this dragon. But overall, I look forward to how it progresses. Alongside the dragon in third place is Chinese New Year at the Temple by Dirty Harry 44 and Anna April. This was actually probably my personal favourite of all the creations in this jam, just because I just really like this tranquil scenery. This tranquil scenery just looks beautiful. The actual painterly aesthetic was very good. Sort of the melding of the painterly aesthetic of the water, the bridging, and sort of a more detailed look of the actual building itself was very good. The actual writing of the Chinese New Year greeting was nicely written and actually came on screen very nicely as well, transitioned in very good. The one thing though is that it did seem to transition very slowly, which was a little peeve of mine. Sort of the more you look at it, the more mesmerized I get, and I'm just looking at even more further details, sort of like the petal movements just are really nicely right on point, as so as all the rain dropping and the rain movements, that's also very good. And for some reason I just feel like I can just stare at this for a whole day and I wouldn't get bored. The one bad point though that I do have about it is I didn't quite like that little firework explosions in the back. That just seemed too small and insignificant to be worthwhile putting there in the first place. Maybe they should have had the actual Chinese firecrackers instead. But yeah, definitely considering the actual theme of this week's community jam of Chinese New Year, this was definitely my favourite creation. Now going on to second place, we have another dragon. This is Chinese Dragon by gauffreman. This was a really highly detailed sculpt. This was really amazing. The setting was also very great as well. I like they thought more about, you know, it's not just making a sculpt of a dragon, he actually put it in a really nice setting. The main bad thing about the setting though was that maybe a bit too dark, but then it kind of goes along with this sort of ominous and epic feel that's given off in this whole sort of sculpt. And what I really like is that, you know, gauffreman has actually set an actual camera rig to really actually pan across it, showing details that he clearly wants to highlight, and it is really amazing. All the small details of this sculpt just look completely right. This dragon just looks so realistic, you know, if dragons were real. But one other concern I had was that sort of the sparklers at the beginning sort of seemed a bit out of place. It, you know, doesn't seem relevant to this sort of setting. And what's really cool again was that the actual camera movements once it finished gauffreman's camera rig, it had a free movement so you can go around to look in at all the detail at every angle of this dragon, which was really cool. I think maybe it may not have been that differently coloured, but it just fits so well, kind of what you'd expect from a high detailed sculpt. The scales, the claws, the face, there's nothing that I would say is bad about this sculpt. There's nothing I could fault this sculpt for. Continuing on with the realism, in first place we have LadyLexUK's Chinese Banquet. This was probably the most realistic of the lot. The shine and the lighting really worked very well. It does really make it feel like these are actually the real objects. It's more like a photo. It's very photorealistic, which is amazing. What was equally impressive was that there's actually a nice variety of different objects, bowls, sauce pots, lantern, you've got extra these red packets, dishes, tablecloth, and actually this, lazy man thing in the beginning, and then all these different foods as well. And I like that the camera's panning all around as well, so that you can actually look at different angles of all these different foods and stuff. One of the really major detractions for me though was that Chinese writing on the sign. I really feel like it should have just done without that, because the quality did not match up, which was very disappointing. And also, to be fair, actually, once you look into the sculpture in more detail, it's actually quite clear that it's more the camera angle has been set to give off best impression of the sculpt. Because when you look into it, you actually quite see, when you look in closer, the detail actually is quite basic. It's actually not all too detailed, but the shine and glow has been done amazingly well by LadyLex. I just wouldn't have put this in first place just solely because of that Chinese writing in the sign in the background. It just kept drawing my eyes to it. But let me know what you think about all these creations in the comments below. And if you liked all these creations, click that like button below and stay tuned for more Dreams content.